Yes.
Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And RNG basically say, look, we are struggling to play that fast-paced style. We are struggling to play the, pick compositions. So let's go back to what has worked for us in this series.
But game one was also a fast-paced pick composition. It was reliant on jungle and bot, not reliant on mid and, I guess it'd be mid and bot as compared to jungle and bot.
That's true.
So what RNG are saying now is we need to rely on Xiaolongbao, which is something we already knew.
And the Nidalee is available.
Oh.
Happy to go for the same draft, though, as they get Ornn for Morgan.
So literally the exact same draft.
We're going to have a rematch on our hands of game number 1. Amata is rubbing his hands with glee as he's like, hey, this is how we win.
I just want to say, I'm sure the fans are also extremely excited that we're getting a repeat of game 1 and not game 2.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Definitely excited about that. I do not want more game 2. Although WE did win that one.
It's different. Pantheon is out of the equation.
I'm kind of sad about that, but at the same time,
you know it also has a dash.
I don't really want Pantheon support to be a big thing.
But you know it also has a dash and a point-and-click stun?
Wukong.
Renekton.
Renekton.
Senna Renekton. You sold?
No.
I mean, I know it won't happen, but it sounds interesting.
It does sound interesting. Now you word it like that, I'm sold. Let's go. But we are going to see Teacher Syndrome coming on through. This is kind of the fallback pick that we have been seeing from him, or at least we saw in playoffs.
Ooh, this is actually getting pretty interesting if we get Syndra versus LeBlanc. Complete skill matchup. But like you said, I guess we'll just talk about Teacher Syndra. Overall, WE's comp, once again, makes sense. Very strong in team fights, good in mid-game skirmish as well. Syndra relevant at all points in the game. And obviously, Syndra was the pick that RNG had in Game 1. And in Game 1, we were saying how we would have liked for WE to pick Syndra on tour. So, listening to English broadcast confirmed, Munchables.
Hey, they did listen after all. Thank you, WE. This is why they're the best team. We've got a set locked in here, which is looking to be potentially the mid lane set. Could be the support set either.
I expect it to be support just because, realistically, how many more options can you throw in that bot lane with the Senna pick? But now this comp is just pretty strange. So where in Game 1, it made a lot of sense how it could snowball and like where your early pressure points are. You have this scaling mid laner, which I guess Senna is also a scaling champion as well. But then you're pairing it with a Renekton in the top lane and a Nidalee who really wants to play through early pryos, start snowballing that lead like we saw in Game 1.
So the final lock-in here for WE is looking to be this Leona. We did see this Leona. No!
Ooh!
Hang on. That changes everything.
Yeah, it's Gragas support, which Gragas support is a thing over in the LCK.
But there isn't a Yasuo in this game. That's kind of the only time we see Gragas support.
No, we've seen a lot of LCK supports played, especially in solo queue.
Oh.
Yeah, Gragas support does have a bit of lane presence, and obviously you have the engage from your E, have disengage as well once you hit that level 6 point, have the cask. The thing about Gragas is, sure, you don't have the same amount of resistances as like other engaged supports, like things like the Alistar, but you have more lane presence than a lot of them, since you obviously have the range coming in from your Q.
And you do have a bit of sustain as well.
Exactly.
To make up for the lack of innate tankiness right there. But we'll have to see. Gragas support coming through for WE. I'm down. Let's see what they've got up their sleeves here against this Nidalee composition. Once again, Xiaolongbao bringing that Nidalee. He was able to snowball to victory in game number 1. We'll see if he can replicate that once again in game number 3. But WE, they've got the momentum. They won out game number 2 in a slow, methodical way. They'll be hoping to replicate that success here in the 3rd game of the series. I'm just excited to see what Missing will bring to the table with this Gragas.
I want to see what Rooney takes. Like, are we going to go for what I was talking about with the phase rush, which has pretty much only been done at top lane? Are we going to go towards the aftershock and go with, you know, more tankiness?
We're going to have to find out as we head onto Summoner's Rift for game number 3, the decider here between RNG and WE. This will decide who makes it up to 3rd place in the standings.
Kind of got baited. Looked like something was going to happen, but
I thought we were going to do another one of those hype videos.
the thing, I was thinking about this, I'm like, but who would you give it to? Because it would be pretty unfair to just give it to one of them.
You could just give it
you
to
have them
WE
both
because they
together.
won most recently or something.
You like cut the screen in half and do like half of their teams on each side.
Now that would be cool. Stylistic.
So we are getting the Aftershock Gragas, so is going for more of that frontline role, which, You know, it does make more sense. I don't think the phase rush in bot lane actually makes sense, especially with the way it is played in top is a bit different. And the Colonel this time around is all RNG.
He's looking to make enemies at this rate. But let's just bear in mind, shout out to the stats guys, because the Kentucky Fried Chars have more stuff factored in to get their stats right, but also more points as well, so it's less of a bumpy line and more of a straight point. What is going on my screen right now?
That was Senna.
That was High Noon Senna.
Yes, it was.
She's on like one of those
like mechanical
fairground ride things.
Yeah, mechanical like bulls.
Yeah.
But
rodeo.
So looking at RNG's comp, right? The one thing that easily jumps out to us is the fact that they have a lot of range to play with. So they can do a good job keeping WE at arm's length. Despite the fact that WE has an Ezreal, you still have Senna, Azir, and Italy. So a lot more poke coming out from their side, able to play out in these siege scenarios. You also do have some, not even necessarily follow-up engagements, you really only have the set. And looking at WE's perspective, though, they at least do have engage coming in, right? We have the Ornn, and this time around we have the Gragas. So even some follow-up engage in there as well, and we have a ton of burst. So a lot of these later game fights are going to come down to if WE can find engages or not, and how well RNG plays around that.
One thing WE have historically been good at, though, is finding the engages in these fights, setting themselves up, especially Morgan on this Ornn is known for how good he is at finding these Call of the Forge Gods. Nice little side swipe from Beisheng there. And we've got a fight for the Wolves on our hands here. Xiaolongbao will not let this one go quietly.
Xiaolongbao doesn't have smite, though.
Yeah, but it's all about confidence, right? You got to pretend that you got the smite, because
well,
Betty's here as well. We are going to have quick draw available. Smites the Wolf. Beisheng gets out of there. Betty just here for the soul. Jomung now getting damage over the wall. What is going on at this point? RNG looking to make sure things are happening in the early game.
And I'm glad we're seeing this now because regardless of where either comp wants to play in early game win conditions, we've seen all series long. Both of these teams are going to play through bot lane. It's going to be all about mid-jungle to bot, or even leaving mid in its own isolated bubble, all about bot lane.
Teachama already being aggressive in the mid lane, though, putting his mark down, which is good to see because, you know, the Syndra pick, we've not seen it for a little while from Teachama. It was something he brought out in playoffs, hasn't played it since. So good to see that he's been keeping up the practice on this pick, still knows that it is this lane-dominant pick.
Also, nice to see since Cryin is the one who took the more lane-dominant rune in the Comet, but obviously he still is an Azir, so you expect him to lose out in some trades against the Syndra, but Teachama obviously going for that phase rush.
And we are going to see Xiaolongbao and Beisheng just accepting that they're trading Scuttle Crabs here. Beisheng now will move into this bottom half of the jungle.
We said bottom lane's the name of the game, Munch.
I thought he was going to go for the Krugs. I didn't think he was going to go for the gank here. Straight on into this one. Heal going to be burnt as well. And it's not going to lead to much more else, but hey, you take that if you can get a summoner.
You get a summoner for nothing, so makes a lot of sense. So RNG going to try to answer on the top side.
Morgan's in trouble here. The stun landed, though. Bellow's Breath wasn't available. Xiaolongbao flashes.
Nope.
No, he didn't.
Just pounces.
Morgan flashes. Xiaolongbao went underneath the tower. Couldn't quite finish the kill.
So ultimately, you would think, okay, we got a flash top for a heal bot, but still, this might be able to start leading to New getting a bit of a snowball, but ultimately, again, I don't expect us to see the comps focus around topside, even though when you do have a Renekton against an Ornn, and you have a Senna bot, that's where you would think there would be some action for RNG, but in Game 1, RNG actually didn't care about that aspect.
RNG have not really cared necessarily about their win conditions that much in this series. It's felt like it has been a little bit all over the place from them. We've got a fight in the bottom side here. Ming with an early Haymaker, but it's Betty that's taking a lot of this damage. Exhaust going to be used as Jomung continues to step forward. But Ezreal with a minion wave in the way, not going to do too much damage.
Yeah, now we're going to see Beisheng take advantage of the fact that he does have a winning mid and bot, going to steal away some Raptors. This is reminiscent of what BLG were doing earlier on in the day.
This is a little reminiscent of exactly that, but it's not that reminiscent of game number 1, because it was all about Xiaolongbao in the early game last time around. This time, this is a nice little combo with a Syndra there to pull away the big Krug so that Beisheng can finish it off.
Also,
cheeky.
very symbolic of WE for Teacherma to roam down just to take away the Krug for Beishang. Like, that is WE.
I need to sacrifice my wave mid so I can help my jungler farm the enemy jungle's camps. What a way to play League of Legends. This is why I love watching this team. Now moves back into the mid lane, realizes Cryan has no mana, isn't level 6, and gets himself a flash.
And I just want to say, getting punished by Teacherma in 1v1 in lane is not a good sign.
It's not a good look, is it? Xiaolong Bao now the one in trouble. Unleashed power comes through. Flash forward, gets this done. Collateral damage to steal the kill from Beishang there. And now another fight in the bottom lane. I think Jomuk should be able to jump away. In fact, he's jumping in. Facebreaker onto both of them. Ignited onto the AD carry. Ming with the Facebreaker, but flashes away. Missing can't quite follow this one up. Gets a knock-up, though, onto Betty. The heal isn't available for either squad right now, but Jomuk doesn't quite have the damage.
Yeah, ultimately very close in the end. Tons of summoners going down on both sides.
I mean, all summoners are on cooldown in that bottom lane now.
True. I guess in the sense that Betty summoners didn't get blown in that fight, RNG came out ahead since they technically only lost Ming summoners in that fight, but I feel like that's be like really stretching.
Yeah, but stretching is good for you.
Yes, it is.
So,
hey, you said in game 1 you don't know a lot about health or exercise, whatever word you use.
Fitness.
Fitness. That is a combination of the two. Yes.
Listen, right? I don't, but I know what stretching is. And I don't think that that necessarily makes me an expert, but if anyone's looking for a personal trainer, hit me up on Twitter. I'm going to do the we did thing.
Oh,
Just throw out my CV, see if I can get some extra work on the side.
I'm not saying I know how to coach teams, DMO and Rogue Warriors, but I'm not saying I don't know how to coach teams.
I'm not saying that would be a severe conflict of interest, but I am saying it would be a severe conflict of interest. Beishang collateral damage to get himself out to safety there. But he's going to be all right at the end of the day. Missing wants a fight here. He's not level 6 just yet. Aftershock to keep him safe. Now he's the one rooted up. Stun doesn't quite connect onto Ming. And WE are going to persist here. They really want this red buff.
I mean, yeah, they just have all of the priority to run forward and take whatever they want in RNG's jungle. And
I love how they walk forward for the red buff here, and Beishang's like, no, I need a couple of these small chickens as well. I'm not going to let Xiaolong Bao have anything this game. This game is just revenge for Beishang for what happened in game number 1.
It really is. And again, we looked at RNG's comp. We said, okay, it looks weird. It sounds weird when you list out all 5 champion names together. But yeah, not exactly coming together yet.
I thought you were going to finish that with a positive.
I'm trying to find one.
It looks weird. It sounds weird. It doesn't really work, but it doesn't work, so.
Hey, New has a 20 CS lead.
That's pretty good. That's pretty damn good. Well done, New, for being the standout.
So now we can see if their pseudo poke gets to come out.
We can see if this Dominus is going to work. Please pick up the Eye of the Herald, WE. New is going to be straight onto missing here. Beishang finally does grab that for himself. Morgan with a knock-up here. Facebreaker into the team from Ming as he gets everybody down. Teach him out, the first one to fall. Morgan pushed back. But Jarmong is on the back of the fight, and he wants to finish these health bars off. Everybody's so low from the side of RNG. Ming poked out here. Jarmong not going to pull the trigger on it. Ultimately 2 for 1, but the Herald goes to WE.
Yep, so RNG abusing that range and really just abusing the fact that all of WE are clumped together in the middle of the pit with some flashes down. Actually, Morgan could have flashed over that wall initially when he was around the bottom side of the pit. Chose not to for some reason. We see right now they are left in this awkward position surrounded by all of RNG. Ming coming out with a really good ultimate. We said, hey, look, RNG have a lot of range to play from. They were definitely using the range to start that fight. Morgan getting pushed over. At this point, does just accept his fate.
Yeah, I think probably would have gone down even if he flashed away there. So
at the initial point where he was on the bottom side of the pit, maybe he would have lived.
I think he maybe was about to, and then Cryan got his big ult across the whole team. So, but hey, we get to see a little bit of proactivity from RNG there. It is finally going to be this dragon that they started earlier. They finally come back to it. WE grabbed that for themselves. But ultimately, even if I keep on saying ultimately, that's my new crutch word, I guess. Even if RNG did get a couple of kills for themselves, WE got the Herald, WE got the Drake, WE are getting everything.
Yeah, now I want to see where they use this Herald. Are they going to do it in mid, which, again, I think generally using it in mid, if you don't have a reason, like otherwise, like some specific, whether split push or whatever, it's always best, especially when teams are heavy in wave clear. I actually think we had the same talk in game 1, but so let's hope WE use it in the mid lane. If they do want to try to get some plate gold on Jomung, though, I would understand.
Yeah, try and get Jomung a little bit more towards his items. Obviously, he's on that Ezreal. We always talk about how Ezreal not going to do too much in these fights until he does get a couple of items under his belt.
If he goes the complete opposite route and puts all the plate gold on the Morgan, that would be something.
Hey, it does kind of help to try and shut New out of the game a little bit. They do have Call of the Forge God about to come off a cooldown, so they could look to just try and find a kill.
I think it's probably too obvious to New, like, wait, why is this Ornn that I've been crushing aggressively walking into me so consistently?
Xiaolong Bao has read the play as well. He's moved up towards this top side. We could have a 2v2 on our hands. Beisheng has to do almost all of the damage in this fight here, and he's been read like a book. Morgan with a double knock-up, though. Fight across the team. Very nice center ult. New still survives this one. Crying, though, tries to shut down Beisheng. Gets the ultimate. Can't quite finish the kill, though. Beisheng can't get away from that one, but Crying is answered. 1-for-1 now. Xiaolong Bao has to pounce away.
Still, this is the issue with Nidalee in these 2v2s, right? You're so dependent on being able to hit your spear, and we saw Xiaolong Bao didn't hit his initial spear. So even though he jumped and got a bit of damage down, that's about it.
And ultimately, another teleport used here.
So there's the spear from Xiaolong Bao. Isn't able to hit anything. Good knockup from Morgan, actually. Beisheng gets away. We see the double TP coming out. Beisheng does end up going down in the end, but at the same time, you're going to be able to get this 1-for-1. Feels like it could have gone a lot better for RNG had they been able to hit those skill shots, but at the same time...
I mean, the same can be said for WE there, because Teachama missed everything on Crying to start. He missed his Q.
Yes, he did.
Missed his E. Had that stun gone through and the damage from the Q, maybe his ult just kills Crying, and maybe that fight ends with Beisheng not even going down.
True. There was a lot of potential for better mechanics in that situation.
Potential is a very positive word to use in that situation.
You know,
I like that about you, Lyric.
I'm a very
never cynical. Never cynical.
When we get to game 3s, especially after very long, slow game 2s, I feel like positivity is the way to go about things. And here is the mid lane play that we wanted to see, Munchables, but I'm sorry for interrupting you. Please go on.
That's okay. We got a mid lane play that you were excited for, and I can appreciate that excitement, Lyric. I'm just glad we get the chance to cast together once more.
We will have many more chances in the future.
That's true.
Unless Clement schedules differently.
Clement Chu has the power to separate us. Oh, Xiaolong Bao. Xiaolong Bao actually just got one of his own red buffs.
Yeah, Xiaolong Bao has the power to outsmite Beisheng, but Beisheng's going to keep going because why not? You have your mid lane pushing.
Beisheng just committed collateral damage to try and win the fight over the chickens. I guess that says a lot about the state of this game and this series and how fast these teams are or are not playing.
We have both Dragon and Rift Herald coming up around the same time. So it'll be interesting to see what RNG opt into, in my opinion, because, again, RNG's composition looks very reliant on hitting a lot of hard skill shots or WE failing their engage. So I want to see if RNG's comfortable into opting to, let's say if WE wants to Dragon to contest that Dragon, or say, okay, we're just going to trade for now and get some items on our Azir and Senna.
Slight lead when it comes to the plates in favor of WE, but not going to be too significant. I think the most important thing to look at is where the gold has been placed on the teams. New the one to hold all of that plate gold for the side of RNG, whereas a lot of this onus is on Teachama this game to be the carry throughout this mid-game.
Teachama has been manhandling Crying. Yep. That is actually crazy. It's crazy that we see Teachama coming in and winning lane. But, I mean, hey, he's...
I love that that sentence is like so surprising that we have a mid laner in a team that finished in the top 6 in the LPL in spring, and we're surprised that he has the ability to win lane.
But right, it's not an insult in the fact that that's not what Teachama's success and style are built on.
No, you're absolutely right. Like, I completely agree with you. Hang on, Jomung gets hit by a spear here. That's a lot of damage from Xiaolong Bao. He's going to be okay. moves over to the rest of the team that's already started off this Dragon.
Oh,
What a stun coming on through. You mentioned Teacher. He is showing up. Dragon goes down as well. And WE, one more of a fight here. Call of the Forge got available. Ming doesn't have his flash. He's going to be stunned up by everything here. And another kill for base shot.
So we learned if WE want to secure wins, when you're in a clutch moment with your back against the wall in an important game, give Teacher Syndra, because he's apparently Knight 2.0.
I guess so. He's looking great on this Syndra. He looked great on the Syndra in playoffs as well, but I felt like it was a desperation pick back then. Maybe right now, this is more of a comfort pick.
I like how I asked you the question a few minutes ago. I wonder if we're going to see RNG opt to contest this objective or kind of say, hey, our comp is kind of weird, let's scale and go for the opposite. Now they're going to end up losing both. They're going to lose Dragon and Rift Herald for that choice.
Yeah, they kind of go for neither. They did contest the objective.
Yes, they did.
It just didn't really work out for them. Teachum are able to completely blow Xiaolongbao up. And Xiaolongbao, bear in mind, he is the rookie of this squad for RNG. He came in at the start of spring. This split, he has looked like the best player on RNG, honestly, aside from maybe Betty. But Xiaolongbao has consistently been the driving force. And here in game number 3, he's fallen off.
It definitely comes down to your question of best, which I know what you're saying. Ooh, crying.
Crying gets a pull onto missing here, but he couldn't quite find Teachama. There's no mana for Teachama, so he couldn't quite follow up after the ult.
But ultimately on RNG, right, it's where Betty and Ming are definitely the two most consistent players in performance, but Xiaolongbao has the highest highs, along with obviously lower lows, and Xiaohu I'd say is close to that, but not as up and down. So that is why a lot of pressure's on Xiaolongbao.
Speaking of pressure, he's trying to finish. Missing just went back into this play. I'm not sure why. I guess it's because he had exhaust and he knew how to play around it. Jomung now, the source of the damage as the rest of the team arrives. We've got a brawl on our hands all of a sudden, and Jomung's in trouble. Taken down with a double for Crying, and RNG back on top.
That fight came out of absolutely nowhere. Like you said, Missing poking his head in and out for no reason. Morgan's not even here. And if we learned anything from game 1, Morgan needs to be there absorbing a lot of this pressure, putting down his own pressure with Call of the Forge God. And WE, after winning almost every skirmish we've had so far, giving RNG, you know, a win into this game.
Morgan now going to be a target of another attack, but he's able to slide out of that situation. In the meantime, Ming is split pushing on the set. He's got Xiaolongbao alongside him here. And RNG have just flipped the switch. They have just said, look, if you're going to get tested for your own blue buff, you're going to die for it.
And gold ending up even, so really exciting that we come into a game 3 that at 18 minutes. I wonder what happens if WE are at, you know, equal in gold at 15 minutes.
We're in unprecedented territory
here,
here, Lyric.
Oh, God.
Nobody knows.
Oh, we get to see Ming's pro view, so does come in with the ult onto Teacher. Ooh, great E coming out as well, dealing a ton of damage with his passive as well, and great W.
Ming does his thing.
That's why we said, right? Probably the most consistent member on this team along with Betty. Always puts up good to great performances and would make sense for how he's always been a standout support in LPL. Last year was second only to Chris.
So, we kind of reset once more, and let's just revisit this composition for RNG, because I'm still a little bit fuzzy on exactly how this works and operates, but we did see them just win a fight.
Yes.
Obviously, it was 4v5. Morgan wasn't there, but like, is this now how it works? Like, they essentially turn it into a pick composition despite the fact they've got an Azir there?
Realistically, you don't have a way of turning it into a pick composition though, right? Like, you aren't able to necessarily move first unless someone from WE just doesn't come.
WE going to be pushing down the mid lane here with a Herald. There is very little in the way of an answer from RNG. This is going to be 2 towers going their way. Very nice little play from WE just
Ming
to
is
find himself some free objectives.
Posturing for a flank.
I don't know if this is a fight you want right now, Ming. The rest of your team is not nearby. He's going to walk away from that one with his life still. Jomung is doing a real good job of eating every single spear that Xiaolongbao throws.
But, so you already brought up RNG and how they want to win out this game. I think it looks like that, where it is, you're working as a pseudo poke comp. You're playing from you know, an arm's length away, not letting WE get on top of you. But if they do, I would assume it should come out WE favored. But you do still have Ming able to ult someone away from your carries as well as Nu threatening the backline to see is massive.
Morgan already getting to the point in the game where he takes very little damage from the enemy team. It's not quite at the 2-item mark, but already has that Sunfire cape and a bit of MR from his boots. But RNG are going to be the ones to start this Dragon off. WE would love to find themselves on Soul Point here. Oh, the Forge God going to come on through, trying to get onto Cryon, but the Dragon's already gone down to Xiaolong Bao. I think that might just signal to WE they need to get out of here.
Yeah, and WE went for the steal rather than trying to set up for a fight, which, you know, if they were setting up for a fight, I feel like you would have used that call of the Forge God differently to where they tried to throw it out to disrupt Xiaolong Bao and get Beishong in the pit. And then they were in a really awkward angle to where the only member they ended up CCing was Ming, so they couldn't really follow up on that.
I love this from WE. They have the timers on this whole jungle from RNG. They are going to be spotted. They were trying to find a pick onto Xiaolong Bao as he came over to the blue buff. It's not going to happen.
We have seen it consistently, right, where we've seen WE invade this blue side for RNG a couple times now, but vice versa has also been true where we've seen RNG consistently stealing WE's blue.
Kind of trading sides of the map.
Yeah. Trading sides without really committing to trading sides.
Yeah. They've not really split the map necessarily, just been finding ways in when there's an opportunity. 5-5 on the scoreboard, and I have to say, Lyric, I'm kind of disappointed.
This is WE versus RNG.
Like, I didn't want to say I'm disappointed during, like, the second game, because I was like, you know what? We had a pretty action-packed first game, blah, 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 but, like, 2 out of 3 games between RNG and WE, I was expecting this to just be like
you're expecting game 1.
Fighting 24/7.
Yeah, right? I was expecting game 1 all 3 games. Not necessarily in RNG's direction, but, you know, like one way or the other. Still, again, this is a new positive Lyric today. Game 2 was exciting in the sense we saw, hey, WE played not to just smash you in the early game. They scaled, and they won, so a new dimension of WE. Game 3 has been exciting for the fact that Teacher Ma looking pretty good on this Syndra, which we knew he was a good Syndra player, but actually numerous times getting Cryon extremely low.
We are seeing a new side of Teacher Ma. Beishong just stacking up in this brush right here. Scatter the weak onto Ming. It is going to be that set, though, so the shield keeps him alive for now. Jomung is here, and he's eaten no spears so far this fight, which we take as a positive here, but the fight does dissolve itself.
And stuff like that is what would benefit RNG, in my opinion, to where we saw they weren't able to get onto WE weren't able to get on RNG, so they were just able to throw down some spears. Some spears did actually land onto Beishong, which is why he's a bit chunked right now. Because a lot of these fights, Morgan's not there yet. So if RNG can find a pick before Morgan can really join, that is a way of them closing out this game. Not closing out this game, but breaking open this game.
Yeah.
That was getting a bit biased right there with that terminology. But there's no bias casting here today.
Caster.
This is a bias-free zone.
I think the only
V5 is not playing today.
That would be the ultimate bias cast, right? Me and you on V5 WE.
Yes, it would. The dream is still alive.
I'd love to see it. We'll have to wait and see. But I have to wonder, because we've seen a couple of these fights for RNG that have managed to go their way, where they found a couple of picks, they found people out of position before Morgan can get there, as you were saying. But how does that actually function the later on into the game we get? Once we're getting towards Dragon Souls, once we're getting towards Barons, like, generally speaking, you're not going to find a WE that are scattered around the map.
I feel like it'll operate like how we saw in the series earlier with Focal Zoe, where if Xiaolong Bao hits a spear onto Teacher Ma or Jomung and they're less than half HP, have to back off, you can now try to force some sort of numbers advantage fight or even just burst them out outright.
That sounds like a narrow win condition.
I mean, to me, when I look at this comp, it does look like a pretty harder to execute narrow comp.
Well, Missing is very confidently walking forward on a pretty squishy Gragas right here, but he's going to be okay.
They have been doing a great job at keeping WE at arm's length this whole time, though.
They really have.
Well,
Beishong stepping forward, though, and Morgan happy to pull the trigger on a fight. Knock up only onto Ming, though. I think WE maybe need to call it quits on this one because they've used a lot of cooldowns for not a lot of action.
And that's actually great for RNG. So now the fact that Call of the Forge God is down, you only have to look out for Scatter of the Weak and Gragas Body Slam cast.
Nicely done here by RNG just to try and keep WE away. And actually, with Dragon spawning in 20 seconds, this is pretty huge for RNG. Beisheng, though, looking for a pick onto Nu. As Missing was the one to try and start the engage there. Beisheng jumps back into the pit instead. Scatter the Weak onto Ming to force them away. Zhongmeng rooted, but realistically no follow-up here. Now Xiaolong Bao is going to look to try and steal this Drake, but Nu is on the flank.
Yep, Nu trying to get into the backline, does still have Dominus and Flash available, so if he can get on top of, especially Teacher Ma, who doesn't have anything like a cleanse or the E coming out from Zhongmeng, so we'll be able to just lock him down and burst him down fast. Ooh,
Dominus
Ming.
used. Nu is coming into this fight. Missing jumps over him. Showstopper wants to teach him out, gets the Unleashed power out. Doesn't do a whole lot of damage and is Missing forced away. This is an already won fight here for RNG, who grabbed themselves a second Drake.
That was just strange, because we saw Ming flash pretty early, and then Teacher Ma just kind of stood there and was like, okay, and thank you, Mr. Set. Went on the ride and got bursted out pretty quickly.
We saw a weird flash from Missing as well. I'm not really sure what he was trying to... He, like, flashed over the top of Nu.
Yeah, he did.
But I don't know why he did that.
You know,
I don't know.
if there's things that...
I want to see if there's
Yeah,
a
exactly,
fight
right.
I want to see a replay of is that one.
Oh, well, you ask and you shall receive. So Ming goes for that. Great Scout of the Week coming out from Teacher Ma. Still had his flash, held onto it a bit too long. Probably should have flashed up with the rest of his team.
So Missing was trying to get a flash knockup onto Nu before he went in. He was just a little slow to pull the trigger, I guess. That's the only thing I could pull out from that flash, honestly. But I think just a normal E would have done it. In fact, I think the flash meant that your E didn't hit him. Thoughts, Lyric? What do you reckon, mate?
I was paying attention to how Teacher Ma died.
Died?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know how Teacher Ma died, but how he could have played that maybe a bit better. I feel like he could have flashed up towards that choke point with his team, but wanting to hold that spell for a little while.
He didn't hold it for long. Still used it and died, which is really, at least he's getting value for RNG.
Yeah, I was gonna say. But
It's been a slow series, Lyric.
no, it has not. We're posturing for some fights. Call of the Forge Gods are available.
Well, there's only one of them. No Silas in this game. Xiaolong Bao getting a good, well, not much of a chunk onto Morgan. He's pretty tanky. He's already finished his Abyssal Mask, so he's going to be pretty golden on that top laner. And we're going to have a blue buff going the way of Joma, so that's pretty exciting.
Yes, yeah, it is. But ultimately, for some reason, RNG just continuing to posture mid. I guess they do have bottom lane already pushing, and their top lane is set up for a slow push. So WE, at some point, you would think, are going to have to answer sides, or they're just giving up a lot of golden XP on the map for free.
Hey, random tidbit that just happened here. Morgan has upgraded the Iceborne Gauntlet into the Frozen Fist, which Ezreal gains max value out of because the mana is turned into damage by the Mura mana. There you go, Lyric.
That is the analytical section with Munchables.
Munch's musings.
But
There we go.
so, again, slow game. RNG have the opportunity to continuously create pressure through sides with their Renekton. Still, we know this is going to come down to a 5v5 even if they have that side pressure. And obviously, WE's comp is all about the straight-up 5v5. So we're going to get to a point in front of a neutral objective where we group once again. And it feels like we really need to find some kind of coordinated engage from WE. And they need to be willing to put themselves in a position of risk, it looks like, because they've been very hesitant of like coordinating, trying to coordinate a Call of the Forge God with maybe Missing coming in for a body slam and a Scout of the Week. They've kind of thrown those all out separately, and then if one of them whiffs, they just kind of back off slowly. You're giving chance for Nidalee Spears and giving Ming the opportunity to find these great engages. So for WE, the name of the game is coordinated engage. For RNG, I think you just keep taking it slow. We're seeing them whittle down the enemy team with all three of Nidalee, Azir, and Senna, and then just wait for Ning to have up his flash and look for this big engage onto WE.
I will say, while we've been complimenting Teachamart a lot this game for his Syndra, in terms of CS, he's really starting to fall behind his lane opponent in Cryan. And as if by magic, a gold graph appears in front of me. Cryan actually starting to build himself an advantage in that mid lane. He just finishes Leandri's as well. So Cryan is getting to the point where Azir is going to be that late game carry, but Teachamart just got a Void Staff as well. So Teachamart is pretty much going to be able to one-shot whoever he wants.
It is also very different in the sense that Cryan can at least push out to River like pretty safely on Azir, since you do still have that mobility coming out from your dash. To where Teachamart, if he ever goes to a side lane, is pretty much always in a position of threat from RNG, so has to be very careful with when he actually goes to decide to catch waves. And we see they are constantly grouped as 5, since that's how their comp needs to play, and they're funneling all this gold onto Jomung.
You can see how effective death stance is for Jomung right there. We've seen Jomung eat a lot of space this game, so we've got a feel for how much damage that does. The death stance has pretty much cut that in half. So Jomung feeling a lot safer since he is just going to eat these spears all game long. Hey, at least he's a bit tankier.
And that's WE are just taking Dragon for free.
Yeah, new over the wall, but there is basically no contest here. Xiaolin Bao late to the party. This Dragon goes down. And WE, I mean, we've seen RNG fight tooth and nail for every single Dragon so far. How are WE now just taking this one for free?
The thing I can understand is the fact that they didn't have any vision on it, so I don't think they actually knew for sure if Beishang was on it, and they didn't want to face check, not face check because all of W was showing on like the bot side river brush. They just want to walk in if it potentially was a 4v5 since Nu was still coming around the back.
Well, Nu was ready.
Well,
Nu was at the pit.
Well, exactly, Nu was at the pit, but RNG didn't feel comfortable walking through the members of WE who were cutting them off without Nu, without for sure knowing if Beishang was doing that Dragon or not.
All right.
Because I don't think they had a ward on it.
RNG starting to be a little bit more decisive here, moving over towards Baron, clearing vision, putting some threat onto WE. Basically saying, look, you now have to make something happen. You have to use some of your vision, and that is not how to do it. Double scrying orb in the pit at the same time from WE. That is not ideal, because now they're going to have way less tools to be able to check this Baron over the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, Teachamart and Jomung really failing on that synergy, and now RNG just playing a vision denial game, and they can even just keep chucking spears and some Azir soldiers over the wall and try to punish WE. They also have tons of wards absolutely everywhere, so they know everything that WE is doing. WE with a really good response of just going towards the mid lane, forcing in this wave and saying, hey, RNG, you need to come back and answer.
Yeah, obviously, if RNG just commits to the Baron there, WE can just run straight down that mid lane, threaten an inhibitor itself. So
for the fight coming up, the player to watch, as before, is Ming. And I'm glad the observers actually now bring us over to Ming. Ming has his flash up once again, has his ultimate, can try to bring these members into Nu.
He's going straight onto Teachamart. Good flash from Teachamart, but he can't get out of this one. Taken down immediately. Ult from Morgan, though, means that Betty is the answer. Jomung has to carry this fight, or does he? Morgan's on the horn. The Ram charging on forwards and chasing down RNG.
Yeah, overall 2 for 1 in favor of WE. And it's funny because RNG are playing this like a pick comp, which you asked if was going to happen earlier. We didn't think it would happen. Doesn't make a lot of sense for it to happen, but really cool engage coming out from Ming. But ultimately, WE are the ones to benefit with, like you said, Morgan doing a good job of zoning and taking up all that damage. Now it's up to Xiaolin Bao.
We're not watching the LPL for plays that make macro sense. We're watching the LPL to see Morgan flash for a brittle kill onto Betty. Xiaolin Bao wants to go for the steal, but Jomung is here to deny that. Missing with the knockup. Xiaolin Bao forced away. In the meantime, Beishang stepped out of the pit here. Baron finally goes his way. Now for the fight as well. Double knockup. Morgan wants this win for himself. Ming will go down as Morgan chases out the Croc and gets the kill.
And honestly, Munchables, that Baron was extremely confusing. People jumped into the Baron, they jumped back out of the Baron. Vice versa, but WE coming out on top in the end, and your main man Morgan showing up big, and even Beishang and Jomung doing really well in these fights.
MVP Morgan himself stepping up to the plate, showing us why he's the new Hulk Hogan of the league. And now, charging straight down the top lane, we've seen WE more than happy to pull the trigger and try and end the game.
And there's 20-second death timers. They can definitely do this. Call of the Forge God is still up.
Let's go WE, trying to push things on in here, trying to finish this game out. It's Cryan and Betty to try and defend. Oh, barely surviving. Betty gets onto the fountain. Health bars are low for the side of WE. This is going to be the towers going down. Can they finish the Nexus in time? Just trying to play keep away for the AD carry. And WE 2-1 RNG.
And I absolutely love the look on their face cams. You saw them getting excited, yelling. I remember WE hasn't gotten a win over RNG in quite